Basically, I didn't want to make the distinction between the general teachings in Tango and Tango awareness. But the awareness part comes down to learning. Everything what we do is becoming aware of something, whether it is physical, whether it is psycho-emotional, whether it is spiritual. We become aware of something we were not aware of before the process. And that is the first reason, but the main reason is in my own process of learning Argentine tango, I went looking for reasons, for questions and my answers on how to facilitate the integration process and the teaching process of Argentine tango. This quest of trying to find my answers in tango and to become a better tango dancer and a better tango teacher went together with a parallel process of spirituality into self-realization. And these two paths that I've frequented gave a tremendous amount of information on the use of our mind and all the elements that we have at our disposal, the working of our body, the various mechanisms of movement or communication, and then the level of figures and sequences, so basic structures and relations between structures. And these are the two main reasons why it became tango awareness, because I'm sure a lot of students have a lot of questions about how certain movements work, how they can reach this kind of dynamic, how they can move together more harmoniously. And basically, all the information is present. If we take a look at highly advanced dancers, top dancers in companies, in theaters, who have tango as a professional expression of who they are, they know exactly what happens on the three basic levels, which is the mind, the body, and the elaboration level of figures. So if all this information is already present, we need to structure them in certain ways that it becomes practical and functional for our students, so they don't have to go the same pathway of analyzing and searching and searching and searching for so many years, while the information is there and we can focus upon that. So that is the main reason.
Okay, but which elements for this tango awareness?
Well, the reason for it is to bring things into perspective. You see, if we want to learn something in life, whether it is primary school, secondary school, high school or university, we have a very concise structure of what we are going to learn. So the overall structure, what the content is of that structure, all the elements of content, how they relate to each other, what the priority is of integration, and where you are in this overall process. So when you are going to educate yourself in school or for professional purposes in companies, you know exactly what the structure is, what the content is, and what time it will take you to get you through the course, what the costs will be to learn it. And it is all very clear. Now, if we, on the other hand, are taking a look on how people in the tango world are learning is that they enter the world of tango and they take bits and pieces from everything, from different schools, different methodologies, different elements, different musicalities, different steps, different movements, without any congruence nor any structure. In that school you will learn something about the caminata, in the other school you will learn something about communication, in the other school you will learn something about a gancho or a parada or an energetical movement, but it is all dispatched in all directions. It's like assembling all the pieces of a puzzle, but no one has really the box with the picture of the puzzle. So it goes in all directions and it takes a tremendous amount of time, effort, and money to get to a certain level in tango. While we know that there are 3 different levels to develop: our mind, in which we have focus, concentration, the intention of movement, and the intensity of movement. We have the level of the body, where we have communication channel through the embrace and dissociation. And then we have the level of the elaboration, figures and sequences, with the 2 basic elements, step and pivot, which will determine 80 to 85% towards the ochos, forward and backwards. Now, if we are aware of these 3 levels and we know that these are the tools that people are needing to become a dancer, why shouldn't we offer them these tools, these structures, where they gain immediately insight in the various mechanisms of communication, dissociation, step and pivot to create movements. The only thing what differs then is linear movement, circular movement, and changing of directions. So this is what we want to pinpoint to in tango awareness, that we can offer a working, a teaching, which is focusing or emphasizing on these various elements and the development of the mechanisms, and we see that people are evolving much faster and much more in practical and functional ways, because we give them now the tools in order to elaborate figures. Then the other way, where they go randomly picking up bits and pieces from everywhere. And it's not a question of being faster, learning faster to dance tango. It's a question of we are becoming aware in these eras of how we can use our body and our mind in more functional ways to express ourselves, to get to the potential. Well, if we can offer that in a shorter amount of time, which is practical for the expression of an individual, instead of 5, 10, 15 or 20 years searching and analyzing everything what I did, while the information is present, we will get to the expression of potentials of our students much quicker. And I think we have to offer an added value, things which are practical and functional to the elaboration or to the education of a dancer, then just offering them things, figures all the way, which they don't understand and have to find out where to place it or where, of which mechanism it makes part or how it works. So I think there are easier ways to educate or to teach our students.
Do you think the most difficult is the communication for both in a couple?
No, there is a huge difference, and this is also part of our teaching, which is polarity. We have man and woman, yeah, who have both masculine and feminine energy, but that is another chapter. In terms of communication, let's call it our chapter number 1 in our teaching, where we establish through the arms and going from open embrace to close embrace, various contact points where we feel physical contact, and physical contact contains impulse and it contains intensity of impulse. Now, through the development of these mechanisms on both sides, we can start to communicate through the body, through the embrace, through the arms, because we evolve from open embrace to close embrace. And this in the emphasis to develop the mechanism of communication, to become sensible to pressure, forces, contact, because in the contact is the impulse and the intensity of the impulse, which can be translated by man to make his movement and can be received and translated in the movement of the woman. And that makes, if both individuals are developing this on their level, then the communication becomes obvious. Another element that we want to bring into perspective is leading and following. Like I have been taught is, you have to lead and the woman has to follow. But never in 18 years of classes in Belgium, in Europe, and in Buenos Aires, nobody could elaborate on the content of leading. What is it for a man to lead, and how do you do that? What is it for a woman to follow and to receive impulse and to transmit that into her movement for herself in beauty and in grace? And very often we find ourselves as men in front of the task of, now we have to do it, but we don't know how because they don't explain the content. And neither for women. So if we put this in perspective, then men have to learn how to lead themselves. That is the first priority. What has been taught right now is that they lead or either the figures or either the woman. And he is not really present with, I lead, I make my movement, and I generate this way clarity, direction, and presence. He is present with himself. And if something, what women are longing for, that is a man who is present with himself, who knows what he does, who knows what he is leading, and encapsulate the woman into this process. The same we have on the other side for women, where we are not teaching women how to follow. We say follow, or you just have to stop thinking, which is kind of denigrating for women in my regard. Women have a lot more to offer in dancing than just a couple of words, follow and stop thinking. So, in fact, we can learn as a man tremendous amounts of how to lead, but that's another chapter. So we are not explaining to women what the content is of following, of being present with herself, of being with herself. As a caretaking being, she is most of the time learned to fix herself visually on the man, on the torso. And there comes another aspect which is kind of generating a little bit of frustration on my side, is that we denigrate women to just following a torso, following a man, instead of establishing her side, where she has her presence with herself, and establishing a communication channel through the embrace in which we can now communicate together as two different individuals, but where she is no longer absent with herself, but present with herself and thus present with the man in the communication, and where she has now the liberty to elaborate her figures and to make her adornos. Now, this can be contradicted and everyone can have his own opinion about it and everyone can have his own critics about it. But if you are looking to highly experienced dancers, they are not focusing on the torso of the man. They are not fixating themselves on the man, where their own body mechanisms, movement and energy is getting blocked and tense. We see experienced dancers, female dancers, moving in freedom, moving with grace and beauty. And this is what is appealing to our students, to our female students. We see male dancers present with themselves, part of the polarity between two dancers, where he is really taking his place, marking and leading out of himself. And it's only in this dynamic that it's possible to work. That's another element. What we want to put in perspective more is everyone is talking about connection, connection, connection. And connection is important. It's a really enjoyable element in Argentine tango, and I'm not going to contradict it. But everything in life is built up out of polarity. That means two sides. We have connection and we have liberty of movement. And when you see the evolution pattern of a dancer, they start all looking for the connection to what is happening inside. And the more you are inside, because this is really the place where everything of the man and everything of the woman is union together, but no one knows which part belongs to who. And the more we evolve in tango, the more we become aware of our individual parts, without losing them to get in connection with someone else. So this is the other polarity. And another thing is that we also talk about energy, because we are getting in contact with someone else, physical contact, close physical contact. There is thoughts, feelings, emotions, intuition, energy that we all come to experience. And throughout my learning process, I became aware that there are various levels of connection. The first one is this pure physical one, the mechanical one, where there is sharing of mechanisms but not sharing of emotion or feeling. Then we have the emotional one, which I also see very close together with sexual energy. You open yourself emotionally and you can go to depths of really sexual feelings, sexual excitation, and connection. We have the connection through the heart. Someone you meet and it's like you already can open the book in the half. You don't need to read the index, but you know that person and it feels so right with that person. We have the connection through the solar plexus, which is to me the balance between mind and heart, and where you have your leading out of that, and the connection and the movement and translation of movement towards the woman occurs in this very particular place. And then you have the fifth one, which I had only a couple of times, fractions of a second, which is the spiritual connection, to which you are really connected on a higher level, where everything flows and you are not aware anymore of any resistance, not physical, not emotional, not on the level of feelings, not on the level of thoughts. Everything goes by itself. So these are the various elements that we try to put into perspective in our teaching.
Oh, very interesting, Wes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
I hope all people can understand that, can learn something with this interview. Thank you.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.